Hey, everybody. So the last time we talked, we had talked about the second triumvirate, the first and second. And we talked about how Octavian becomes the ruler of this new empire. He realizes that the republic by itself, having a republic, isn't a good choice for a government system just because of the size of the land and everything, and they need something that's a lot stronger. So they decide to go with an empire, and Octavian changes his name then to Augustus, which means the revered or majestic one, and his title goes from being a general to being an imperator, which is a commander in chief, a lot like our president. He is then in charge of this big empire. And because people still like to vote for their leaders, he keeps some of the power for the Senate, but he keeps most of it for himself. And just because they need to have that one leader to make some really big, powerful decisions. So I'm going to present here. Move my face. Oh, yeah, I could move so easy that time. Okay. So let's go on to Augustus and what he did for the empire now, not republic, empire. So there have been fighting in the Mediterranean Sea area for hundreds of years until Augustus, who, remember, was Octavian. He ends the fighting and he takes control of the whole area. He starts this big thing called Pax Romana, and that just means Roman peace. And this peace, this period without war, and I know it sounds like it's not that big of a deal, but he had 200 years where there was no wars, no fighting. It was a big deal because, like, even today, our last war was ended in, well, let's see, we had the Gulf War in the 90s. We had the war in Afghanistan. We haven't had a time of peace. Doesn't even come close to that. Like maybe, 5 years or 10, somewhere between 5 and 10 years goes by, and then we have another war somewhere. Augustus became emperor in 27 BC, and he tried to make the empire strong and safe. So he makes a professional army. Remember, a professional army means they are paid for their job instead of not being paid or being required. They are trained, they are paid, and he makes this big army of about 150,000 men who are all Roman citizens. He also created a special unit called the Praetorian Guard. It reminds me a lot of China when they had that special guys to protect their government, and also in Greece when they had that secret special, group that protected their emperor in Persia. But these people would have a lot of political power later. Augustus's armies took Spain and Gaul, which is also known as France, and land where Austria, Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria are today. Now, Augustus builds beautiful buildings and supports art like music, art like painting and writing. Back then, their painting was done on walls. They were called frescoes. There are lots and lots of them that exist from the time. In Rome, they have the first bound books, so writing is flourishing. Music is flourishing. Theater is flourishing. They do a lot of comedy type theater. Parts are all played by men, just like in Greece. They wear masks on their face and they get up and they do elaborate plays that people go watch for fun. He also brought grain from Africa for the poor because he knew that well-fed people were not as likely to rebel as hungry people. People are not hungry, they're more happy. At that time, more than 50 million people lived in the Roman Empire. These are all land of the Roman Empire, and as you can see, these little things right here are called provinces. Just like we talked about in other empires, when it gets too big, it's hard to control. So what Augustus did is not what, unlike other civilizations did at the time when they had this much land. He broke it up into chunks. Think of them kind of like states, and they called them provinces. Augustus chose a proconsul, which is a governor. If you think about us, we have states, and each one is run by a governor. So this preconsul ran each chunk of these that you see in these lines here. There's different preconsul. He also changed the tax laws. By making tax collectors government workers, he stopped them from taking some of the taxes for themselves, which was a problem back then. Augustus made a set of laws for free men who were not citizens, which meant the laws protected everyone. And what I have today is just like an 8-minute video about Augustus and what he did for the Roman Empire. Watch it. It'll be linked in Google Classroom. And then you have to do some notes on Augustus, and then you'll do the Augustus meme. You're going to pick something that he did and make a meme out of it, like you did last unit. Okay? I'll have a video on there. So if you have any questions, just reach out. Have a great rest of your day. Make good choices, and I'll see you soon.